Hi, my name's Mike D'Amatos, and I'm chair of the BSW program here at the Myron B. Thompson School of Social Work. Today I'd like to talk to you about measuring student development and competency in social work. Why assess competency? Competencies are really what social work is about. Social workers need a broad knowledge base, critical thinking skills, an empathetic disposition grounded in values, and the ability to clearly communicate with those we serve. CSWE identifies 9 core competencies covering a range of topics including ethical and professional behavior, engaging diversity and difference in practice, advancing human rights and social, economic, and environmental justice, engaging in practice-informed research and research-informed practice, engaging in policy practice, and then engaging, assessing, intervening, and evaluating practice across systems with individuals, groups, families, organizations, and communities. In addition to the 9 competencies, the Myron B. Thompson School of Social Work has added a 10th competency, engaging, honoring, respecting Indigenous culture, and decolonizing professional practice. Finally, in addition to the 10 competencies, CSW identifies 4 associated dimensions: knowledge, values, skills, and cognitive and affective processes. Cumbersome and amorphous terms for sure, especially cognitive and affective processes, but completely sensible. So how do we measure competencies? Competencies can be measured theoretically and behaviorally. We act on our knowledge, live our values, practice specific skills, demonstrate empathy, and think critically. These are more than concepts. They're ways of knowing and being that we live out professionally. We actively listen. We keep abreast of the latest best practices. We learn about cultures and celebrate diversity, and we fight for those who've been marginalized and problem solve difficult situations at the individual, group, family, organizational, and community level. And we help people navigate and negotiate complex systems. These are all actions as surely as they're ideas. In the classroom, we assess these competencies most often through the written word, through term papers. But we also videotape interviews, have students present in class, or participate in debates. In the field, we assess through direct contact with real people, real clients. It is the signature pedagogy of the profession, after all. So where and when do I measure these competencies? We're always measuring competencies, sometimes through class activities, always in signature assignments. But aren't grades enough? Well, honestly, no. Many variables go into grades, including formatting, timeliness of submission, etc. And many factors threaten grades, including student conduct, plagiarism, attendance. Grades measure so much more than a student's competency as a social worker. They measure their performance in an educational setting as a student. Social work competencies are more and less than grades. The competencies are specifically interested in a student's ability to function as a social worker, not as a college student. It's possible to demonstrate incredible competence and still earn a poor grade, and vice versa. For example, a student might do a videotaped interview and demonstrate excellent communication skills. They may be empathetic, ask really good questions, attend to their client, and listen actively. But if the student turns in the assignment 2 weeks late, they may earn 0 points and still fail the assignment. Honestly, most of the time there will be a strong correlation between social work competency and academic performance, but it's not a given. Now let's look at the tool itself, the instructor evaluation sheet. You'll notice on the left-hand side is a list of all of the relevant competencies covered in the class, in your class. This may range from just 1 or 2 competencies to several, depending on the class you're teaching. At the top of the matrix are cells to list students. I typically list first names as I score, and then change those names to numbers to maintain student anonymity. Never forget that while the hope and goal on the part of the program is for each student to become a competent, high-functioning social worker, the program uses the data in aggregate. The assessment office isn't interested in individual student performance. That's your job, to help them learn and to help them grow. The assessment office is committed to providing the best educational experience possible, and student competency is one of the measures used to assure quality programming. Now, between the two axes are cells where you insert the individual score for each student and each competency. Your job is to evaluate competency acquisition on a scale from 1 to 5. Finally, at the bottom of the tool, you'll find a brief explanation for each of the possible scores used in the Likert scale. Let's review the scale. One of the biggest questions we face is the issue of fixed or fluid scales. A fixed scale is anchored in an ideal social worker. You know, the 30-year veteran we all aspire to be. For me, that's Greg Tanita. If I'm assessing a student's capacity to empathize in a live interview, I may compare them to a seasoned veteran. Early in that student's development, I would expect a relatively low score compared to a seasoned veteran. Though this isn't always true, we have some real stars. On a scale of 1 to 5, maybe they score a 2. As they grow in the program and through experience, we would expect improvements, though likely never as good as a seasoned veteran, but improved nonetheless. Maybe they score a 3, or if absolutely amazing, a 4. Now, a fluid scale recognizes where the student is at in their educational experience. Instead of being compared to the veteran, they're instead compared to what we would expect of a student in their place in their educational process. Not being compared to a veteran and instead being compared to someone at their place educationally, we would expect their score to be higher. It's not a guarantee, but we'd expect it. Maybe they score a 4 or even a 5 because they're really good for where they're at educationally. In the social work department, we use the latter method, a fluid scale. We assess students based on their place in the program and not on an imagined ideal. Because really, who can live up to an ideal? When do I assess and to whom do I submit the results? You can assess as the semester progresses or at the end of the term. Truthfully, you're probably assessing all of the time. I know that I notice student development throughout the semester. It's not unusual for me to note student growth and feedback given through graded assignments. But the final assessment, the one that's recorded on the form, is typically assigned at the end of the semester. Just like we'd never grade a student before they've had time to actually learn the material, neither should we assess a competency the student has not had time to practice or demonstrate. You submit at the end of the semester when the grades are due. Simply send the IES form to Department and Assessment Chair Dr. Maripa Godinez at maripa@hawaii.edu. I hope this helped and that you're ready for the next semester. We have wonderful students who are excited about making a difference in their neighborhood, community, state, country, and the world, and you play a critical role in their success. Things can get pretty heavy here at the school. We're often talking about some of the most difficult and entrenched problems in society, the types of problems you're confronting on a daily basis. Still, when I look out into the classroom, I have hope. Our students are creative thinkers and effective problem solvers. Our job is less indoctrination and more stewardship. We need each other, and truthfully, we're so much smarter together than we are apart. In divisive times such as these, I find it incredibly comforting to know that there are so many of us committed to individual and collective change. Mahalo for your commitment to the profession, the department, the school, as well as our local and global community. You're more than instructors, you're models, and the school would not succeed were it not for you. Mahalo and take care.